Hello Maine, my name is Bill Such from Chico, California. I was asked to see if I could send a small video over to you from Chico to Maine to wish you well and what you're doing with street pastors. 3 years ago I was reading a book by N.T. Wright called Simply Jesus, and I looked in a footnote and saw that there was an organization that had affected crime statistics in Britain. And I looked at the footnote and I saw that it referred to Street Pastors UK. At the time where I was in Chico, I was working with the downtown group, trying to facilitate our downtown to be a safe place. And I was doing it in the day. We had ambassadors in the day that were working, but I wouldn't do it at night because I thought it was too dangerous. So when I read this material by Wright and saw the UK street pastor address, my curiosity was piqued, to say the least. And so what I did was I contacted London, Eustace Constance, and had several conversations. And from it, what it led to was a meeting that I had in the town hall here in Chico, and 57 people showed up. I purposely did it in the civic chambers and got the consent of the police and the city council in respect to it. And I broached the question of whether we could start street pastors here in Chico. And eventually over 90 people showed interest in it. The key elements of it at first were really to get the authorities, the secular authorities behind us, and that is the city council and the police in particular, because they were very skeptical when they heard about it. They didn't think that policing in Britain was the same as policing in the United States, and so they didn't think that it would work. What was really is quite funny in a way is that Eustace gave me a cell phone number of a Metropolitan Police officer in London at New Scotland Yard to actually give to the police here in Chico to see that you can vouchsafe for this organisation, because in 10 years it's done a marvellous job in a great number of countries. So from that standpoint, that's where we started. We started and got together the foundation group, which was several churches, an Anglican church, a New Hope, a Protestant church, a neighbourhood church, a Christian Missionary Alliance church, and a Fusion church, and the Jesus Centre where I worked would be the basis from it. From that, we worked as hard as we could to get people to come along and to fulfill the requirements, which are quite tough, as you well know. The uniforms, the cost of the uniforms, the element of that you don't want somebody who's just a Christian who could do this, but you want somebody who's already layered within a congregation and somebody who's mature and can handle the material and being on the street and all that would come to you. Eventually we got to a point where we invited over Eustace and his wife Sharon, and they did 2 weeks of training with us of policies and procedures. The manuals that we received from Britain, because they had not done anything in the United States, they didn't work here in many respects. So what we did was we orchestrated our own training, 50 hours of each one. We got the police involved in respect to drugs. We got social workers involved in terms of telling us how to treat particularly young people on the street and so on. I've got a background in dealing with homelessness. So from that standpoint, I represented a theology of homelessness and how to deal with it within an urban context. Eventually, we went through all our training, and in August it was of 2013, we had our celebration, and we were out on the street. And since that time, the Street Pastors in Chico has worked. I've had interest from other places, up in Oregon, and then of course over on the East Coast in respect to street pastors. It's not been easy from the standpoint of the first thing you could say is that what was good about it was that it involved so many churches. At least 12 churches were involved in coming together, and it's still there, it's still got that component. The problems that we had initially were what I call naive compassion. In the sense of wanting to help people, but not knowing how far to go. One of our perhaps worst situations was when one of the street pastors did not want to leave a woman who's on the street who was drunk. And so what they did was they actually wanted to take her home. And so they got a taxi, and the taxi driver wouldn't take a drunk woman home, so all the street pastors climbed in the taxi and took the woman home and abandoned then their route and so forth. So that was, I'm laughing as I say that, but that wasn't good. So we worked that out. It was a naive compassion from my standpoint, as I understood it. We worked out the route with the police, downtown, the area. And Chico, I don't know if you know it or not, but Chico was, even in 2002, was voted the #2 party city in the US. Really from a magazine article in Playboy in 1987, which voted Chico, because of the state university here, as the party town to be. So in other words, on the street at night in Chico, you can have up to 1,300 people on a Saturday or a Friday night between the hours of 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. So street pastors were needed here in Chico, and it's gone well. We're now in a situation where the police actually acknowledge us. At first they looked down on their noses, I think in a sense, because they were afraid that they'd be rescuing us. But that didn't happen. And one of the most poignant examples to me of the effectiveness of street pastors was when I was leading a team in the first year, and we were on a street corner in downtown Chico, and it's about 2 a.m. and there was a bar which was crowded with about 200 young people who were out on the street, tanked up, and the police had sealed off the street, and there were about 7 officers, and you could sense the atmosphere, the violence that was there. And so we didn't know what to do. In a sense, we were just starting out. So what we did was we said, let's go across the other side of the street. We went to the other side of the street and we got in a circle together, all of us as street pastors. This is about 2 a.m. on a Sunday morning, and we just prayed. And when I was praying, I opened my eyes and looked, and right to my right, I could see a police car that was just waiting there. And I was thinking to myself, I wonder what the young people are thinking as they see this group of people in a circle praying. That's what street pastors is all about, isn't it? Dialogue, caring for people, helping people, being a light for the city, and not a light for the city 12 hours later, where everybody on a Sunday morning, say at 11 a.m. is on their way to different churches. In Chico there's over 60 churches, so the streets are alive with Christians, but not at 11 p.m. on a Saturday night. That's the point. So we bless you in Maine. We bless you wherever you are as you seek to bring street pastors into our US cities. God bless you. Thank you.